Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. I hope all doing well. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Summer.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
So, Alhamdulillah, it's the month of Ramadan. Usually, me and the Niqabi Diaries have a video every so often where we are either reacting to something or talking about something. And this month, we thought we would keep it chilled and positive by just having a really natural conversation about Ramadan and how it's going so far, inshallah. Is that accurate?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So how's your Ramadan going?
So far, alhamdulillah. Different.
What some people might not know is that many times in our conversations we have referred to, the difference between England and Scotland, but actually somewhat recently you've moved to Ghana. So is this your first Ramadan in Ghana?
Yeah, it's my first Ramadan. I've never had Ramadan outside of the UK, so the whole thing is a new experience for me. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. How's it going?
Alhamdulillah, it's fine. I think mostly I was worried about my son a little bit, like being a mum in it. But it's his first Ramadan being in school and in another country as well. Because like when we was in the UK, he was homeschooled. So it's new country, plus he's in school, plus it's hot. Challenges are different here. UK, our main challenge this time of the year in like summer months is the times, like how long the day is of fasting and the short nights. Like here, like the times are very consistent, like throughout the year. So we have Maghrib usually around 6 o'clock, Fajr is around 5 o'clock. So that's like practically every day. It's usually like that. A few minutes difference you get, maybe a little bit here and there, but it's like that pretty much the whole year. So alhamdulillah, I'm still kind of adjusting to the climate. I think I'm doing pretty well, but I think here what happens, because it is hot, if you do go out and you have to do stuff and maybe you get stuck in traffic and things like that, what could happen is that when you come back, you're going to fall asleep for a really long time.
As long as you're not falling asleep in the car whilst driving.
Oh, well, no, I'm not. I haven't driven here yet. The roads are too horrific to drive here. It's like, but like they really are. I might take a taxi every now and then, or we have what we call pragya, which is basically the three-wheelers or tuk-tuk. We've got those to get around the place. Yes. Yeah, so I love walking, but obviously in the heat and stuff, by the time you go and you come back out, you feel fine doing what you're doing, but you will get the heat does knock you out. I mean, I'm fasting. I don't want to miss most of the day from sleep. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've been really focusing on having a good routine here because, as I said, the times are very consistent and the day isn't actually very long.
This Ramadan is like my second in Scotland. I've had many other Ramadans in Scotland, but to be honest with you, there's an hour difference between London and Scotland. So as Ramadan sort of went into the summer months, there was no way I was adding an extra hour, like 18 and a half hours was, a lot for me. So I wasn't about to make that 19 if I could help it. Last year I had my first Ramadan in Scotland, but it was lockdown. So all the mosques were shut and everything was really different for everyone, wasn't it?
Of course.
So this is the first where mosques are open and my kids are able to go, I'm able to go. And also the schools have Easter holidays around this time.
Okay.
So the day that the holidays started, the day after Ramadan started. So we have like 18 days of no school. So very much like you, I'm able to develop a routine that I can stick to, that's consistent and chilled. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I didn't realise it was already the Easter break. So because here, I think my son said that they're breaking up on the 22nd of April. I don't know why, but they seem to be having exams before that as well. So, and I know like Ghanaians are really religious, so I don't know like how Easter is for them, if it's just going to be like a day or something. I don't know. So I'm still learning about how they do holidays here. But alhamdulillah, my son will be broken up from school around the 22nd, he said. So he'll have, inshallah, the Eid, because here Eid is a national holiday. So alhamdulillah, we don't have any issues with Eid and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We just spoke about Ramadan last year and how it was very different because everything was locked down. We were locked down in our homes, you know. I mean, is there anything that you've missed about Ramadan? Maybe different from last year's, or maybe just in general?
Yeah, I think for me, everything's pretty much different. Like there's a lot of different things for me, like even with my family stuff. I think maybe the one consistent thing I could say that I've had this year that is pretty well almost the same as last year's family, like, you know, being in the house with my non-Muslim family, do you know what I mean? So it's like kind of 50-50 Muslim and non-Muslim household. And alhamdulillah, my mum and my sister, they really like, you know, make a lot of effort and they help out a lot, like they take care of most of the cooking and stuff like that, which is alhamdulillah is really nice, so I don't have to like think too hard about that. But generally, yeah, like for me, I think the main things is being in a new country and making my own new kind of Ramadan traditions. Like, you know, there's certain things that I like to do during Ramadan. Every family's got their unique things that they will do, you know, to like kind of have their so-called Ramadan vibes or whatever. I don't know, like, yeah, everybody, you have habits. Like, come on, everybody's got habits, man. They might not be the best habits, but they're habits for Ramadan. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, like it could be even something as small as, for example, like when you wake up for suhoor, usually I'd have like breakfast kind of stuff, do you know what I mean? Porridge or something like that. When I was in the UK and I would tell people what I'm having for suhoor, it was like completely different from what everybody else would be having because they've got their other food stuff that they would normally have. Yeah, like little habits. I think that's one of the benefits of being a Revert. You make your own kind of, you know, family routine, things that your family normally does during Ramadan, things that your children every year they will look forward to, or they recognize, they'll say, yeah, we do this or we do like this. Last year was really hard because of the COVID and masjids being closed. Because my kids love to go to the masjid. Last year, obviously, we did all the tarawih in the house. Alhamdulillah, my son, he led the prayer for the first time. Alhamdulillah, like he was too big for me to like lead. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, oh, I've got this young man here now, so he needs to do it. So, alhamdulillah.
For me, I don't know. I don't think I have any sort of, what was it that you referred to? Habits? We have a routine that we're working with just now. Our lives have changed in the last couple of years. Because of that, things are a wee bit different. I think probably our biggest battle is my youngest son. My youngest son has autism. You know how toddlers go through their why this, why that sort of phase? So my son is probably hitting that right now and he's almost there. But there is a comprehension sort of issue there. So we're just trying to get him to sort of understand what it is and what we're doing. So, you know, he knows the Quran, he knows Allah, you know, he knows that we fast during Ramadan, but a trait of autism that things have to be in order. So, for example, if he has a zipper on and you try and zip it down halfway, you know, that will like have a really negative effect on him because he's like, you know, it's a zip, it needs to be up, you know, what are you doing? So he's very, but everything is very logical and straightforward and has a way. So if you breach that way, for example, disclaimer, my son's he's not fasting, nor would I push him to fast. So we're like, you know, what about you? Or do you want to fast for a half an hour or something like this? And he's like, no, because, you know, I get angry when I'm hungry. We laughed at that because the way he said it was as if, you know, if I'm hungry, I have to eat. But I think that's what it is, you know, it's the fact that if he gets hungry, his brain is telling him, okay, now you need to eat. And anything that sort of breaches that is really difficult for them. And because there's a lack of comprehension there, there's a lack of reasoning or a lack of flexibility or trying to explain it. Yeah, we get hungry, but that's okay. Like there's like, is this that thing all over again?
SubhanAllah.
No, it's also the reason why we have put up decorations, which is not my thing. Like, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody who puts up decorations, but for me, it's just not something that I remember the first time I tried to buy decorations for him, and I never bought anything expensive. I would never waste money on things like that. However, the things that I did buy were a little bit complicated to put up. So I remember when I was trying to sort of like unfold them and, you know, sort of fix them, I kept ripping them. And my daughter, I could see my daughter look at me with pity. So this year I kept it really simple. One wall is decorated. It's really simple and clear. Ramadan Mubarak, few thrills. But again, that's for him. It's not for my other kids because they're older, and for them it's more about suhoor, iftar, them going to the mosque, you know. So.
But that's what I'm saying. I think, you know, now you've moved back, obviously with the youngest, the way he is, he needs a routine. And he needs that familiarity with things as well. So I think that's something that, inshallah, you'll be able to incorporate, and you will have your own, you've got the space now to make your own kind of traditions as a family. Do you know what I mean? For me, like, you know, because I was single for such a long time, that was one of the things that I just loved. We would try to do like new things, like when it comes to food, and then eventually tried a few different things, and you get your favorite. Then that favorite would become something that, oh yeah, most Ramadans, like, yeah, we have to make this one because like it was so good last time. When we have our iftar, we don't have a big iftar. It's a small one, you know, something that's quite light and like healthy. Then we go and do tarawih and stuff. And after we come back from tarawih, that's when we would have like, you know, our main kind of meal. So this is what I call our family traditions. And to be honest, we're doing the same thing now.
We are very similar. For many years, actually, I was a part of creating a huge spread, spending a lot of time in the kitchen. Always sort of really struggled with that. I'll still give them things that they like, things that are traditional to them, but I'll keep it really simple as well. So here's an interesting question. You mentioned that, you know, your family's non-Muslim. How do you explain Ramadan if you're asked?
In my house, like my actual family is like 50% Muslim, 50% Christian. In Ghana, there's so many Muslims. But when I went on the Google and I wanted to know the percentage of Muslims, it said there's like 17%. And I was just thinking, that can't be true. There's Muslims everywhere here, like literally everywhere. There's masajid everywhere. Like you can pray literally anywhere, you know. If somebody asks me what is Ramadan, I will first tell them that Ramadan is a month, okay? Because I think a lot of people don't actually know that. And I think that's important. Ramadan isn't what we're doing this month. Ramadan is just the name of the month, actually. Okay, so what we do in the month is fasting, we feast in the ibadah. You know, it's a blessed month as well. So it's the month that the Quran was first revealed. You know, there's so many, so many different benefits and blessings, and we try to increase as much in, good deeds as much as possible, as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to do.
I think something that I always feel important to point out is that it's not just something that we do because it has health benefits or because of this, that and the other. It's a commandment from Allah. The follow-on question I usually get from that is, you know, isn't it difficult? I use that opportunity to point out that if your intention is to fast for the sake of Allah, then it becomes easy because your mind has its priorities in check, you know.
For me, that's one of the blessings of Ramadan. It is a month of having that mental toughness and building your spiritual strength. Hold off from like succumbing to those desires that you have for food and marital relations, all these kind of things. It shows that like the rest of the year that you can easily withstand. You don't have to submit to your desires. You have control over your desires, and that's what Islam teaches us as Muslims.
I think that's a good point that you've made, that this is about character building as well, developing a mindset. We all have a starting point. I think it's very obvious that that's the time where things are probably going to be the hardest. Your knowledge isn't really there, and if you don't have knowledge, that definitely affects your iman. But if we think about it, for example, many people throughout the year struggle waking up with Fajr. It involves them breaking their sleep, getting up, doing wudu. But if we say a person had an important flight at around the same time, there's no way that flight would be getting missed. This is about priorities. So in terms of Ramadan, if we are struggling, that we are missing something in the spiritual sense, or missing something in terms of our iman, our priorities, that's something that needs to be worked on. There also has to be that recognition that if we're at the start of our journey, but at the start, gaining knowledge takes time, developing character takes time, and respect yourself in the sense of this is something that you're still learning. It's not going to come easy. Your job as a Muslim is to keep striving.
I did like maybe three Ramadans before becoming Muslim, and I was living in London at the time. But when I became Muslim, I moved to Newcastle, and I was a student, so I was by myself. I didn't know anything about suhoor. I didn't know nothing about Taraweeh, know nothing about Laylatul Qadr and all these different things. I didn't know any of it. All I know is that you're not supposed to eat when it's light. I was still at the time struggling to read the Quran, for example. Alhamdulillah, I could pray, but a lot of things I didn't know. If I'd been like bombarded with all those other things, maybe I would have found it like quite overwhelming, especially because I was by myself. But alhamdulillah, it was something that, I learned gradually over the years, bit by bit. For new Muslims, when you learn about these things, just stick to the basics. Ramadan is about the Quran. It's about spiritual enrichment, growth, whatever you can do to like improve yourself spiritually, to control your desires. Just keep it simple. Don't try to make like life too difficult for yourself. You need to get used to the whole thing about fasting if you've never fasted before. Yeah, there's so many adjustments that you need to make.
Make achievable goals. Like if it's only one ayah a day you can manage, then do that one ayah a day. If usually you do one ayah a day, then try and make it 2 ayats a day. There's not one size fits all answer here. If you can do more, do more. Only we as individuals can know what we can achieve. It's about us having an honest look at ourselves. I mean, what advice would you give to Muslims, reverts or not, who go through that Ramadan dip? There's a lot of conversations where people say, at the beginning of Ramadan, I'm really motivated, etc., but then it gets to mid-Ramadan and then that motivation starts to dip. What would your advice be to them?
It's like shiny object syndrome, isn't it? Like you see something and it's like, oh, it looks attractive, or you're like really excited, and then you put it on the shelf or whatever. You love it every time you look at it, but after a while it's like you kind of forget that it's there. That's what the dip is. One way to avoid that a little bit is to maybe introduce something new to your routine at that time. You don't want to add something that's going to overwhelm you, but you could maybe do a slight change so that it brings like new kind of fresh energy to what you're doing. Use that time as your evaluation period. Say, okay, how do I think I've done so far during the beginning of Ramadan, for example? What would I like to improve on? What can I do better? What do I want to change? What do I think isn't so realistic for me to achieve now? If you need to change your list of things, what you wanted to do, change it. However, you need to do the adjustment so that you can pick yourself back up in that middle period. Ramadan is one of the paths to get to Jannah. If our deeds are accepted from us, inshallah, Allah will forgive us our sins, This is what we want. So it's part of like your long-term goal.
The thing is, when it comes to the mid-Ramadan dip, is a reflection of a few things. It can be the difference between our everyday outside the month of Ramadan to what we do in Ramadan. So for example, growing up in the UK, the TV, sitting down to entertainment, very much a part of the culture. Because of that, whether we like it or not, or whether we're ready to be honest with ourselves or not, when that becomes a part of your routine and your habit, taking yourself away from that might be easy in the beginning, but the longer that goes on, your mind or your routine will start to, want to go back to what it knows and what it does, whether that be that culture of sitting down in front of the TV. Now it will be the culture of sitting down in front of your phone. Let this go for the sake of Allah. It isn't just about what we want to do in our desires, it's about sacrifice, it's about self-discipline. That's something that every action should have in mind as Allah. I think another thing that can result in a sort of mid-Ramadan dip is our obligations, or working, or duties that prevent us from spending the time we would like to spend in worship and all the other beneficial things. Can also weigh on our mind, create this sort of defeated feeling. Organising whatever time you have is key here. And there's a famous phrase, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. What are you doing during your break times? What are you doing during your lunch? What time do you have in the evening? Stopping yourself, checking yourself. If we have two Muslims who sacrifice the same thing for the sake of Allah, but one finds it easy and the other one finds it really difficult. The one who finds it more difficult gets an extra. There's goodness in everything, even our struggles. Sometimes we go into Ramadan really, really hard and we're achieving all sorts, but it's unrealistic to keep with that pace. So when it starts to decline, we start to get into our own heads. Like I said, developing that mindset and prioritising, not letting your emotions get the better of you. But as long as you are doing something more than you would do outside of Ramadan, then inshallah you're getting something right. Keep trying to build on that and work on that. May Allah accept our efforts.
Make a playlist of like Islamic talks and lectures. So many playlists online from different sheikhs and stuff like that. You can like listen to Tafsir Ibn Kathir, Tafsir Sa'di. I think Islam is addictive, you know, like knowledge of Islam is really addictive. SubhanAllah. And when you cut out social media, or you cut out watching films and, you know, TV programs, and you replace it with Islamic knowledge, you'll be like surprised at how much you can even miss those things. That's what's going to help your spiritual growth, inshallah.
Yeah, like you said, if you prioritize it, it does become something really beautiful and important, and you're really passionate about it. It develops you in a way that nothing else can. Like, for example, recently I've been diving into, you know, the science of hadith, and I swear how intricate it is. The checking system is so amazing and detailed in many different parts of my learning. I'm like, wow, they really thought of everything. It really does reinforce your belief. It reinforces everything that we know. We become Muslim because we accept that Allah is one, we believe in Allah. We have faith and we know enough to believe and call ourselves a Muslim, but it isn't until we start increasing our knowledge does that really become consolidated and roots grow deeper. It's really, really beautiful, and probably the best gift that you can give to yourself. It will help you deal with everything in life, hardship, parenthood, good and bad, every sort of aspect of our life as women, as men. Everything becomes easier if we have that really solid connection with our deen and our creator, our priorities. One last question, actually. I think this will be a good question to finish on. The importance of taking what we gain in Ramadan outside of Ramadan throughout the rest of the year until the following, inshallah, if we make it. What sort of things do you feel that we should realistically be taking outside of Ramadan and building on it, inshallah?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the month itself, apart from being a full month of training and showing you what you're actually capable of achieving, your potential, it's also like a renewal point for, you know, your life. Some years back, there was a sister, you know, came up to New Year's and she was going around asking everybody, "Oh, what's your New Year's resolution?" And I said, "Well, I don't believe in New Year's resolution, you know." And she kind of looked at me, and I was just like, you know, we have the month of Ramadan, and like that's a whole month that you have to decide on what you're going to change about yourself and what you're going to try to have as a resolution for the coming year, and, you know, till the next Ramadan. So that's kind of how I see it. When we look at the Sahaba and the practice, what they used to do after Ramadan was finished, they would spend the next 6 months praying to Allah to ask him to accept their Ramadan from Ramadan. And you have the Eid day, you make up your fast, or you'll do your fasting in Shawwal, you know, and then after that it's like, khalas, you know, it's over. I don't have to fast anymore, kind of thing. And all the dua that we made, we should be making dua and asking Allah to accept those dua, you know. That's what the Sahaba used to do. And 6 months before for the next Ramadan, they would be asking Allah, you know, to let them see that next Ramadan. You know, we have to think about it like this. It's a cycle, and it's something that's continuous. The deeds that we're supposed to do as Muslims, they're not isolated. They shouldn't be isolated to a particular month. Sometimes we're leaving the Quran for the whole year and only picking it up in Ramadan. If you know that's you, then that's not how you should be living. As Muslims, every day we should have the Quran in our hand. We're so familiar with it, you know, and our day feels strange, out of place if we haven't read the Quran.
Absolutely. Just to build on what you just said there, paraphrasing this story, I'm not going to do it any justice, but when the Prophet ﷺ passed away, there was a woman really upset. In that moment, she made the point that it wasn't just about the Prophet passing, it was the fact that there wasn't going to be any more revelations from Allah. Having and keeping that relationship with the Quran is to understand that these are Allah's revelation, guidance to mankind, and we should have a comfort and solace in that. I think another thing in terms of post-Ramadan, Ramadan is an opportunity to create habits and build on acts of worship, acts of ibadah, to increase them. Fasting every day outside Ramadan is unrealistic, but it could be the opportunity to take the habit we have created outside of Ramadan and use it to fast our Sunnah days, our Mondays and Thursdays, the Sunnah days within the month. Same in terms of waking for tahajjud. It really does increase us in iman and faith, giving us the best chance of being successful in the akhirah. So I think that's also something that we need to think about. Again, if your Ramadan is not great, you're day 6 in now. You still have time. Your Ramadan is not finished. So don't be intimidated by it. Embrace it. Take it one step at a time. Take it one ayah at a time. Take it one shar at a time. Just try and build on it, relax, and inshallah everything will fall into place. Alhamdulillah. So yeah, really happy that we could come on and do this. I think the last couple of ones we've done, we've been like having some tough conversations about different things. So it's really have this sort of comfortable, chilled, positive conversation that inshallah might be beneficial. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, barakallah feeki.
Inshallah, you enjoyed the video. Sister Salma, would you like to end this on a dua?
Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Any mistakes made in this video is a reflection of me and my limitations as a human being, and any good in this video is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God the Almighty.